got another baller. Come on, keep it. I want to get it up, keep staying up in the here.
Keep it up, yeah.
Let's try it.
Get used to it, yeah. Oh!
We're doing all right.
Yay!
Hey!
Oh!
Oh, I ought to stop doing that.
Who thought you could have done that? I told you got it. You know, like I was saying, music, when I really look, music is so intertwined with culture. Because Indians play a different kind of rhythm, the Chinese play a different rhythm, the Irish play a different rhythm, but it all represents where they're coming from, Of course, the Jamaicans play a different rhythm, the Americans play this funky, But at the end of the day, it has to do with the culture of people. And the beautiful thing is when one culture can embrace another culture, whether it's the music, whether it be rituals or traditions, So this music for me is a culture thing. It's not just playing music like because when we start playing music, we play it because we love it. The passion was there, And then you question yourself as you go along. What's the purpose here? Why am I attracted to this thing? And as time goes by, you see other people doing it. You see other people setting the pace. Because even with the Marley and the Wailers, there were musicians before them who had set the pace,
Max Romeo
and even before Max Romeo, which Max Romeo and like Lee Scratch Perry and so many other of these artists are so.
He goes way back then, does he? Lee Scratch?
Oh yeah, he comes way back. As a matter of fact, the tradition, just taking a little quick back to the Naya Bingi, which is the Rastaman chant. Tuk tuk puff, tuk tuk chick chick boop boop puff. We hear that one drop, tuk tuk puff. And the Naya is the same thing as the reggae. But before we come from Naya to reggae, there was a lot of changes coming through, like ska.
Ska beats.
Yes. And then you have rude boy rhythm, which it was a little bit more slow than ska. And then when we slow it down now, it becomes the roots rock reggae. So in that middle now, Lee Scratch Perry comes in with the time when it was more rock steady. That's what we call a rude boy scamp, rock steady. And yeah, Lee Scratch Perry he's a visionary, or was a visionary back then.
Did he do a lot of instrumental playing? Did he?
Come again?
Was there a lot of his stuff instrumental?
Well, what he actually does, he inspires individuals to do things. Like there's an artist called Augustus Pablo, and as a musician and a keyboard player, Lee Scratch Perry would be working with him, and instead of he's singing or playing a keyboard, he's playing a thing called a melodica. I have one around here I can bring to you to see. Yeah, and out of that melodica, mixing it with the reggae, it becomes a thing, something almost live, And then he worked with a lot of artists, Even with Bob Marley, he brought out the more humorous side of the music, Yeah, and there's a song that I saw him and Bob was working on called "Oh, What a Rat Race. Some are chicken, some are scratch, some are dog, and some are guinea gog. Oh, what a rat race." Things like that is very much instrumental. But the music itself though, for me, and where I am today, like I really start listening to this music back in the 60s, then got involved into it in the 70s, more professionally in the 80s and the 90s, and here I am in the 21st century, in the 20s. Yeah, so
with some of the rest of us.
Yeah, well, give thanks, it's something to be thankful for, because coming along the way, you can see the transition, you can see the changes, but the most important thing, the root, it don't change. The root is always there, and that's really why I'm emphasizing the culture, you know, the purpose, the root. Yeah.
That's so very, very quite obvious in music from maybe Jamaica or Africa and maybe in other parts of South America. You can see there's definite roots there. It may get a little bit hazy in some other
Commercial,
cultures.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's a transition though, because you know, there's this world that diversity is such ingredients in it. You know, that's what makes it so interesting and so adventurous. You know, the diversity of creation. So the digital thing now is where we're at. You know, where I can make a rhythm and my bass player's in New York and I can send him the files. And he can do his own dubbing ons and send me back the files, and it hasn't lost its quality.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
You know, that's where the digital age is now.
Yeah, I've come across a few bands that are doing that now, and especially in America though. It seems to be quite a catching on in America faster than other places.
And even before it become popular, artists like Stevie Wonder and all these artists were doing that.
They're doing that now.
But they were more advanced in the,
Yeah.
you know, the technology.
Yeah.
And now it becomes prevalent to the public, where you can have a little laptop at home, you can have a little digital recorder, and wow, you know, I remember days when we used to do one-track recording, but we do the one-track, we use cassette player, and we record the rhythm, and then we play it back and play the bass line. That's 2 tracks, and then we play back those 2 tracks and maybe do a little vocals. And then we can do 24 tracks, but you only start from the 1 track, you know. But now you have digital, you can have 160 tracks if you want, you know. But again, what the most important thing, are we capturing what we feel, what the artwork, you know.
I've got this funny image of people with their instruments queuing up to get in the shack as you talk. You know. I don't know why.
Yeah, man, it's the vibes. Yeah, man, the reggae vibes. But the point here, though, is I started working with Pro Tools from that end, and I realized it was really user-friendly, because I'm not the one for computers or I had the patience. It seemed to take away my creativity. If I should sit here and trying to record something just me alone on the computer, I end up focusing on the technical side, which I should be more focused on the spiritual side or the vibes side, you know. So it's nice to sit and work with other people who know what they're doing. So I just expose myself to the knowledge because I want to kind of know which direction it's going. But as far as me working with it, personally, I rather work with my instrument and have it somebody recording it. You know, but I'm fascinated by what these digital things can do. You know, because I remember back then, like I was saying about the reel to reel, and the guys back then too, I mean, mankind is such an expert in his own field. For real, you know, because when I think about it, you know what we used to do? If we have a song that is too long, the guys can actually cut the tape at the exact spot, join it again, and the song perfect, like making a loop tape or something like that. I mean, you know, now we just do that without pressing a few clicks and a few buttons, you know. So with walking with a big machine and walking with, like today I thought he came with one of them heavy cameras and stuff. So the digital age is here, and the beauty about the digital age, it gives people a lot more independence to express themselves and be heard. Those two things go hand in hand, because even you have like MySpace, which at first when it came out, it was like a website where musicians, independent musicians, could show their stuff, you know, their work. And she introduced me, you know, we introduced ourselves, we get to know each other. She went home. She was just on holidays, and she came back to Jamaica a couple more months after that. We met up again, we talked a bit. And she said, "Why do you come to Ireland?" I said, "Yeah, we're in Ireland, Belfast." I said, hey, like I was telling you, we watch the news a lot, you know? But the good thing about the news is, even though it's so diverse, it's so different from the facts in a lot of ways, we could put together that. Sorry, my head runs somewhere else there for a minute. What was my subject?
How you got to Ireland?
Belfast.
Belfast.
Yes, yes.
Watching the
Your
news.
perception of Belfast from watching the
Yes, and the news media showed us where all of a sudden they had a voice, Jerry Adams, you know, coming from the underground and the underworld, coming up and start speaking politically instead of otherwise, you
news.
know.
He was banned from.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowed to broadcast in Britain or Ireland on TV or radio.
But then when that turned around, that was a good thing, you know. It turned around in the sense that people start more listening and people want to hear, you know, and when they start listening and hearing, there you have it. Belfast, in so many ways, is more at peace. And Ireland is so much more at peace now in terms of, you know, what we used to watch on TV.
Yeah.
You know, and of course they used to watch on TV what we used to go through in Jamaica. It's no different. Political upheavals, you know, political violence in the cities all over. So when I came to Ireland, there was like a big city gate at the entrance of the city. When you leave the airport, there was a checkpoint. You know, coming into the airport, the checkpoint. All of that is gone now. You know, so Ireland remind me a lot about my own culture in terms of community, in terms of family. You know, I mean, there are certain countries I've been to where grandparents isn't even heard of. Here, grandparents keep the kids if the parents is not available, and you know, actually raise some of the kids too. You know, so there's a lot of similarity in the culture. But the music now, you know, I've been here and I've done workshops, I've done live concerts, and within the workshop setting, you know, you work with musicians that you could perform with them on stage, you know. And I mean, I met some great musicians here, you know, not just trad musicians, but blues, jazz, you know, even grass, you know, bluegrass we call it, you know. Down in Westport there's a festival, a bluegrass festival, and it's amazing to see the sort of musicians show up at the woodworks, you know. But anyway, with the reggae now, the commercial side of it, yeah, people get to hear about reggae, and they've seen a few live performances. But as a musician, again, I really appreciate the changes I've seen in terms of, as an independent musician, I should say, and seen so many other independent musicians trying to sell their products online. And like Carmack was asking me earlier about, the competition is so big, you know. How would you get your stuff noticed? You know, but there's still the good old way. The good old days is, you have an idea, you put some musicians together, you have to start, we call it start from scratch. You know, you start from small. You perform in some small venues, and you grow to the place where you feel more confident. You can take on a festival and get a great performance. But the whole music thing is, it's not something overnight. You know, most of these musicians you see make it. Trust me, when you hear their life story, you're amazed.
To go through,
Yeah, what they went through.
Yeah.
You know. And so that again is a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I couldn't travel the journey for someone else. I can only travel my life's journey. You know, and within the music, when I just left school, high school, that's in 1972, I met the Wailers, and instantly I just knew that's my life. You couldn't really say it, but just instantly nothing else mattered. You know, you're so focused, and I want to learn this instrument, I want to be a part of this, what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. My first tour with Bob Marley and the Wailers was to Trinidad and Tobago, way back in the days, and it was like magic again, because they did 2 shows, and just the people in the audience doing that, waving, and going to the rhythm. You don't see nothing like that every day, you know?
Yeah.
One beat, one art, one destiny, one purpose, one focus. And really, that's the ultimate goal for me and my music. Can we have the old globe dancing? Because if that happens, then we don't have to have somebody to solve our problems. we can solve it ourselves. And when I talk about problems, we're talking about poverty, you know, whether or not it's designed or whether or not it's just a backlash of the capitalism or whatever system there is. I know we can eradicate poverty. People can live and there's enough for everyone's need. But of course, there's not enough for everyone's greed. You know, because if one man wants it all, the other person might not have any.
It's Gandhi, isn't it?
Come again?
Gandhi. The quote of Gandhi. There's enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. Yeah.
There's Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned him because he has been a great inspirator too for not just me but for people world over.
Yeah.
And he has another saying that if you practice the philosophy of an eye for an eye, then the whole world would end up blind. And wow, you know, how true is that, you know?
True, so true.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So back to the music again though.
Do you think you're saying about this question of the individual freedom?
Mhm.
It would be a necessary thing though unless you just wanted the freedom for the few, then you would get a lot of people making music. Or with the new technologies that's come out, it's opened that up, don't you think?
You think that's what's happening or that should be happening? I'm not sure.
You say it's given individuals the freedom.
The freedom,
to make music.
yes,
But
yes.
then it's a necessary step that you're going to have a lot more people doing it
Yes.
because of that. You know,
Yeah.
you can't expect just a few to keep it because that was a product of the chosen band who would make the music that the record company would allow them to. But
Publish.
we don't have to live with that now, do we? We can. How do you think that? Is that the way it is in Jamaica now?
Yeah, there's a lot of individualism when it comes down to people getting their stuff recorded. But back to the natural selection. Let me just put it in that way. The natural selection is that you have 100 people start out playing music today and trying to do something because it's so accessible.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you only have 10 that stuck with it. You know, 50 might fall by the wayside and say, I can't be bothered. Another 10 might say, well, I'll stop next year, I'll go get a job. As I usually tell musicians, go get a day job. Or go get a job. But at the same time though, it's a passion. I mean, if everybody wants to play music, maybe that's my goal. If it's even a day when everybody's playing, which again, that wouldn't be a realistic goal. Because what I realized too, for me to have the determination to get up on stage and perform, the 200 people in the audience, maybe 4 or 5 out of those people would take that burden on to get up in front of all these people and they might run me off stage, I might not sound good enough, So even though there's people, I've known people who can really sing, but you never get them on the front page, you never get them on stage, So it takes all of that ingredients, the fact that you're passionate about it, you know what you want to do, you want to be a performer, you're gonna make the right steps to be that person. Because, again, being shy takes away the music itself. You never will perform if you're going to be having doubts. So confidence.
You're giving some spirit to the people.
Giving that's the end of the day.
And you certainly do. I've watched you play. I think you do. I think you do great.
Hey man, it's the audience.
It's the ingredient, and that's part of it. You have great audiences, which is why I like going to your gigs.
It's the audience bringing it out of me too,
It's a two-way process.
Yeah, so as it is, it's such a
Everyone's happy.
Yeah, that was my first reggae thing down in Baltimore. Never been before.
Yeah.
I was going with people who had never been before.
Yeah.
And I was just leaving the place, everyone just smiling after having a great night. It was, and you don't get that out of a lot of gigs,
That's true. You don't.
And you live 4 years after a lot of gigs. That was everyone left.
Yeah, it's a spiritual. And when I say spiritual, when we use the word spiritual, it seems like something unseen, something invisible. But there's that saying again. I think. What's the name of this group? The Police. They sing a great song. We are spirits in this material world.
Sing the material warrior.
Great song.
It's a great song.
And there is, it has a message, because it done me, I listen to that and can identify with that, you know. And being on stage, believe me, just to step on the stage is like you're going on a journey and there's no turning back. You know, I could step on the stage, get stage fright and turn around, get back into my dress room, like, you know. But when you leave your dress room, stepping on stage, you know, you're going on a journey and you're taking these people with you, you know. Where we're going is another question.
Yeah, maybe we are, maybe we're not.
You know, but at the end of the day, it's a moment when everyone is into just that one moment, you know. Thanks to Mr. What's the man's name? Magandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Gandhi.
Yeah.
He born on the same day I was born, the 30th of September.
Really?
Yeah.
The what?
The 30th of
Oh,
September.
30th. I thought you said the 13th. Oh, God.
No.
Yeah.
I'd be more lucky then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this music though, this music is a communication tool. And within the networking again, within the internet, you can use it to your own advantage. And even before we get to the internet, back to I was talking about producing something good, the ability to do your own recording at home is a big advantage in terms of capturing really the vibes you want, you know. Of course, you never don't want to hear a loud noise, so you just have your headphones on and your screen in front of you. Which at one point, you know, I used to rebel against the internet about the sort of digital recording. But when you look, everything else is pushed aside and you're left with little choice. So you just make the best of it. And of course, and it had it been analog, which we know, it seemed to have a more warmer sound, a more natural sound. But if you play around with the digital long enough, you'll get somewhere with it. You know, and of course the digital is because on the computer now you can sit there, have a camcorder, make your own stuff, publish it on, send it on, and you have left your house. You know, as long as it's good music, you do get somewhere.
Yeah, the Jamaican reggaes, I mean, one of the highlights of it is some of the sounds and the instruments that those guys get, you know, and a lot of those sounds you don't hear anywhere else. And I must say, I listen and wonder how they create these sounds. Has this changed with the digital age, or are they still using the same
somewhat
techniques that they would have been using in the 70s? You know?
Somewhat it has changed, because like I say, in Jamaica now you have a lot of musicians have their own studio at home.
Yeah.
But from where those sounds came from, even though we have new musicians coming up, they still listen to the old stuff, because that's what inspired them. You know, so they would try to emulate or imitate what they're hearing. But where those songs came from, they were here, necessity is the mother of invention. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where, you know, we're in the studio, we want to hear a Congo song, but we don't have a Congo, so we get a spoon and a pan, kung, 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 and you think it's a Congo, you know, or a bongo. So yeah, it's out of being creative, really, you know, and not trying to imitate, because when you imitate it, it only go that far. And again, not to imitate is to have your original sound, is to have that inspiration, because it all comes from inspiration, you know, inspiration from your own experience in life and the things you want to do. Which when I left school, I just knew it was going to be music, but I didn't know which direction it was going to take until I met some Rasta people, and these Rasta people is playing reggae music. So it all falls right in place, you know. And when I say Rasta people too, because in school you ask yourself questions, you know, even though you're learning this vast amount of knowledge, accumulating it or packing it in, there's still another side of life you question, you know. And so when I met this Rasta people and I realized you can eat your food without all that salt and sugar and stuff, you can eat as natural as possible. You can live as natural as possible, you know, and if things are bad enough, you can make your own shoes, you can make your own clothes, but of course it wouldn't fit into the norm, You know what I'm saying? But being Rastas, living in our own commune, it's no problem to make your own shoes or your own shirt.
Clear your mind, so when you fog it up, it's not as fogged up as it would have been had you not cleared your mind.
Well, clear your mind is very essential because otherwise you stumble, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but this music though, coming to Ireland was quite an experience because people tell me, Natty, when we heard reggae music, we could identify with it, you know. And the reason why we could identify with it, we heard the words appeal to us. You know, a song like War, which is a type of song Bob had written, a song, some words that His Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie in Ethiopia, from a speech that he had made to the United Nations. Back then it was the League of Nations, but now they call it the United Nations. And he's saying, until the philosophy that all one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, there are always going to be problems, you know, until there's no longer first class and second class citizens. When you hear these things, you wonder, is it achievable? It has to be, otherwise, who knows?
Of course, he was talking about Mussolini, who started all that fascist bit, isn't he? He was the guy that actually started it. So.
Yeah, and actually, you know, you're calling on all the nations and saying, if you don't do anything about this, then this is going to be world spreading. And it's spread, because today we can see...
If only they'd listened to him.
If only they'd listened. But maybe we got to fulfill that book. Who knows, you know, it's just the way the world, the story unfolds. And as it is right now, back to the internet again and the digital age. Yo, it opens up a window of opportunity for people not just to communicate musically, but to communicate on a lot of different issues, political issues, social issues, that the normal news media wouldn't give you, wouldn't tell you, or if they tell you, they tell you in their own version. You know, so there's now the internet give you a window where you can look at it from many different angles. You can hear many other different people's opinion instantly, you know, and that's one of the things I like about the cyberspace, where people are using it as a tool for really spreading liberation. And when I speak of liberation, I'm talking about knowledge. Because when people have knowledge, then they realize where we stand, you know. And of course, knowledge is light. You know, with knowledge, you can shine that light. And you know, I try to kind of make sense of all of this, because in reality, you talk to the man in the street and you talk about light. Yeah, what light? You know? But the light of people being liberated, where they can govern themselves instead of looking for a government way off yonder. You know, we can govern ourselves, because that's how creation was meant to be. Each nation, each individual, each society have a sense of purpose. You know, instead of someone else telling you your purpose or forcing it down your throat what your purpose is. But anyway, the internet again, I use it. I never used to want to use it because I'm saying too much technology, but I realized, like I say, it leaves you no choice. It leaves you this window where you can use for your advantage. You know.
So when you say it leaves you no choice, do you mean was it a compromise for you to go down the MySpace route and Facebook route?
Yeah.
It was a compromise, yeah?
Compromise, in the sense that you know, to find a student now, we're real to real.
Oh, and you're not going to be
You know,
from
even to buy a vinyl now is more expensive than a CD, because it's become collector's items in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, because even the mobile phones, all this digital thing. I was surprised with this fellow doing his stuff at his home, and he was able to download the tracks we did onto his telephone.
Yeah.
We walked over to the studio and uploaded it on the studio board, and it's the same quality sound, you know. You know, something you can really play around with. You know, but again, you have to have the purpose. You have to have the reason why you're doing these things. You can't just do it because somebody else doing it. You know, you have to be inspired to pursue it, because nothing in this life is easy peasy. You know, everything takes have a challenge to it. Because if it was easy, believe me, everybody would be, you know, be a Pele or another great Jimi Hendrix. You know, so It takes that passion.
Muhammad Ali.
Or another Bruce Lee. You know, I remember there's this era of people that came through creation that made such an impression. You know, from boxing to football to basketball to music. You know, these talented people, visionaries, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know?
There's been a lot, isn't there? Yeah.
I feel proud, to be honest, as a Jamaican, really, when I see Usain Bolt.
The swimmer, is it?
Oh yeah,
The runner.
Runner.
Yeah.
He's
He's such a kind of unassuming character as well, isn't he? You can see
very simple,
humble, and,
humble,
yeah,
eloquent. Because
he
look,
was loved, wasn't he? He was really loved when he was out there.
he's breaking the world record and he's looking back calling, "Here you go." Excuse me. I mean, this is a world record, you know. Look at the lights again, man. Listen.
Sorry, go on.
Natty, thanks ever so much for talking with us, and we wish you all the best in your endeavours, both philosophical, political, spiritual, and business-wise. Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming and sharing with me too. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks, Karma.
Thanks.
Thanks for inviting me on
Thanks
into
for having
your
us.
program.
That's it.
Yeah, and thanks to Brian, our cameraman over there, doing a great job.
Thanks, man.
Hi,
Oh,
Brian.
come here, before we stop.
Greetings to all the music lovers out there in Radio Land. This is Natty Wailer. One love. It's also what all things about. When I said all things, the whole Rasta movement, you know, and the voice. And the meaning of Wailer is a voice crying out in the wilderness, preparing a message. World pirates, yes, they're rabbi. They sold light to the merchant ships. Yeah, minutes after they took it from the bottomless pit. But my hands was made strong by the hands of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. So won't you ever sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs, these songs of freedom. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear of our atomic energy, and none of them could stop at the time. How long shall they kill our prophets? Some say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book. So won't you ever sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, these songs of freedom. Sing it with the children, it's every day. Sing it with the children, in every word. Sing it with the children, in every way.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Great song.